Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time.
Welcome to this episode of the Queers of Time podcast, or should I say the Queers of Power podcast, because we're going to be talking about, well, I was going to say Queers of Time, but that's not right.
That's not
We're going to be talking about Rings of Power Season 2 a little bit, because it is Kat and I, and the trailer just dropped, and literally this morning an article dropped about Tom Bombadil, so we're still reeling from that a little bit, and we are going to get into our feels about it and see how it goes.
Let's see.
As always, we wanted to give a special shout out to our patron saints of queerness, Lurks, Charlie, and Morshadi. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast.
We have saints plural now.
I know.
We have a plural at the end. That's exciting.
That is very exciting. I'm pulling up all of the stills from the article and... Oh, I was about to close this window accidentally. Oops. Don't do that. Yeah. No, yeah, do we want to talk a little bit about the season 2 trailer? I feel like we should probably have watched it before I hit the record button.
I know. It's so I have watched it. It's just that we didn't watch it. I didn't watch it like right away, right before recording.
Yeah, we should probably do that. So
we should do that.
Camille can edit out this part.
We're going to do it real quick, real quick, just so that we're fresh.
Just so that it's fresh. And we can pause.
Yeah.
Are you watching it now?
I am. Yes, here it is. Yes, I have it.
All right. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay. I mean, it looks gorgeous.
It looks great. It looks really, really, really good. I particularly like the final shot of the of Mordor. It's like, you know, sort of like the outward explosion and transforming into the Mordor that we see basically in the trilogy.
Yeah. I have no problems with how it looks because it's always looked like a gorgeous, amazing show. Yep. Because they have the budget. I remember when I first watched it, my first thing was, how does no one recognize Haldir? Or not Haldir. He looks like, what is his name?
He does look like kind of, what's his name?
Oh man, I feel like such a bad fan. This is bad. This is
so bad.
Google was just telling me it's Sauron, and I'm like, no, I know that.
No, we know that. What's the actual name?
I know that.
What's his actual name? Well, not actually, but my God.
Halbrand.
Yes.
Halbrand. Okay, that's why I was like, Haldir.
Yeah, it was Hal something.
It was Hal something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but then a lot of other people said that they didn't recognize him, and I was like, is it just me?
It's the Superman effect.
See, I think it looks so much like him.
It does.
I have no idea how people don't see it, but I mean, I guess I'm looking for it because I recognize it.
Yeah.
Or like
because we're aware.
We're aware.
We know that it's, yeah. And so I think I think if we were going into it as like fresh eyes, had no idea, like I think it would be effective. Like we wouldn't know. Right.
I mean, it's his face. It's his face. His face looks like his face. It's not going to change.
No.
I will say I am a little bit confused as to how, like, so for those that don't know, like Sauron in the books took on this fair form, which we're going to see in season 2, to fool the elves and then he makes the rings of power with them.
Right.
With the exception of the 3 rings, which are created by Celebrimbor, using the same type of magic, but done in its own way, which is why they're kind of like unaffected by Sauron.
Right. That's why the elves are able, like we see in the trilogy, the elves still have their rings. Their rings endure.
Right.
Because they're separate from the dwarves and the men and the One Race.
Right. They weren't directly made by Sauron. They were just made using like, it's like if you bought a pattern off of Etsy that Sauron made, like, sure, it still has Sauron's influence, but it's not made by Sauron.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how this is going to work because they already made the rings.
Well, this is my confusion.
Maybe they're just doing it in a reverse order. Maybe they make the 3 rings first without Sauron's help because he wasn't really involved in that. He was there,
but again, yeah. So yeah, that might be what they're doing because obviously, like, I mean, we see dwarves specifically. I think was that what's his name?
We're
very good at names. Durin,
yes.
That was Durin, no? Yeah, Durin holding what looks like a very fancy and ornate ring. And so I'm assuming we're going to see the dwarves getting their rings and whatnot. And I'm assuming as well the men get their rings at some point. The kings.
Yeah, I assume in season 2, we're going to see Sauron being more involved with the elves and Celebrimbor, and forging the rings of power. I am confused as to... I guess I'm just confused because that's not how it happened in the books. Not that it needs to happen exactly like it did in the books. It's just, why is it different? What's with the difference of it all?
I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhat of a rights issue.
Right.
And there are certain things they're able to reference and certain things they're not. I honestly, like, I don't know how they're navigating through this because, like, the rights issue with the Tolkien estate is like a mess. Like, it's a messy soup. It's all over the place.
It is a garbage mess.
Yes, it's a hot mess. So it's the fact that they're able to make anything somewhat coherent at times is remarkable because
it is. I mean, I think, we're going to get into that a little bit with the Tom Bombadil of it all because that's kind of intense.
That's a thing. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about the trailer. We got to see Galadriel again. She didn't play as big of a role in the trailer, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with it because it means that they're gonna fuck her up a little bit less.
I'd be okay with that. And it wouldn't. It would make sense if they focused on her less in this season.
Right. It would make sense if they focused more on Sauron and his influence. Yes. Galadriel and Elrond are out doing whatever the fuck they're doing.
Right.
And then Galadriel comes back and is like, do y'all not see that he's Sauron?
You don't see this? You don't see this shit?
Like, that's just a cheap wig. Like, do y'all not see that? I know we don't know what wigs are, but that's a wig.
He got a shake and go wig from Amazon.
That cost $9.98. But I'm hoping that's what happens and Galadriel just isn't there because the thing is, if Galadriel is fooled again by Sauron,
I can't.
That just undermines my girl, and
we can't have that. That can't be a thing.
It hurts.
Yeah. The elves being fooled by Sauron makes sense because they don't have the same context that Galadriel has. And so it makes sense that he could come in and do some fuckery and mess with them. Mess with them is putting it lightly, but
right.
I did find there was this one shot of Celebrimbor, who I know we talked about before when we were talking about in season 1. He was one of like the most well-rounded elves that we like. One of the elves that had the most personality. It felt like in season 1. And there was a very ominous shot of Celebrimbor looking, let's say, concerned.
Right. That's the thing.
Which is Ooh.
There was a very ominous shot with him, like, being very, like, overwhelmed by this light. And I'm wondering if that, because they cut it immediately to Sauron after that. So I'm wondering if that's just some fun editing, like we had with Wheel of Time, the trailer. That was some fun editing in there with the wall and Matt and everything. So
right.
it's probably just some fancy editing, but I'm still curious as to what that is.
Yes.
What is Celebrimbor seeing?
Yeah. I
was gonna say Celeborn.
I all the time, constantly, I mix up their names because, like, Mr. Tolkien, how dare you? Why would you do this?
Well, Celeborn isn't in this. I had a husband once. Remember that? Remember in season 1?
We don't know him.
When Galadriel was like, I had a husband once. We don't have the rights to him, though.
Excuse me? You had a what? Oh, interesting.
But no, I think it's... I don't know. I like the trailer. The trailer is beautiful. I will say, like, notably, we didn't really see much of the humans. We saw that one episode of someone riding in on an eagle.
On an eagle, yes.
We saw a tiny shot of what is his name?
Arondir.
Arondir, yes.
Yeah.
Very briefly. We saw a couple. Yeah, we saw Adar.
We saw Adar. We saw the boy. I don't remember the boy's name now. But the son of the woman. I also don't remember her name, which is bad.
Bronwyn. Theo.
Bronwyn. That's it. Theo. That's right.
Theo. Yeah.
So we saw a couple shots of them. We saw a couple shots of the dwarves as well.
We get your girl Disa back.
We got Disa. I'm very happy to see Disa. I enjoyed her a lot in season 1. Excited to see her in season 2. We saw Durin. I'm assuming we'll see more of the dwarves as well because they're going to play. It would be interesting to see if they kind of split it up by season. And so if, like, this coming season focuses more on Sauron and his fuckery with the elves specifically, and then the next season focuses on his fuckery with the dwarves and so on. It would be interesting if they split it up that way. That might be a cool way to kind of delve into the worlds.
Yeah. I mean, he has some interaction with the dwarves in the books, but it's more tangential fuckery. I will say I loved the shot of the elves wearing the 3 rings of power. And Gil-galad has, like, 3 other rings on his hand. Gil-galad's like, which one's the ring of power? I have so many.
I have so many. I know.
I'm trying to find the shot where they're throwing rings into the fire because...
Yeah, that was interesting. There are so many bits of it where I'm like, I don't know what this is about, but I'm curious. I don't mind it necessarily. I'm just very curious.
There are at least 8 rings.
Yeah, which is...
So there's 9.
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't know who that person is that's throwing them into the fire. I think it's Celebrimbor, but he's out of focus. But yeah, I'm curious as to why he's trying to destroy them. Or I figure why he's trying to destroy them. I'm trying to figure out, like, he should know better that it probably won't work.
That's not how you can't do that.
You can't just you can't just cast it into the fire.
Cast it into the fire. Destroy it.
But yeah, now let's kind of, do we have anything else on the trailer?
Again, it looks really good. I like the sort of visuals of, and obviously, like, the voiceover of the influence of Sauron creeping in.
Right.
It felt very true to the books too, to the source material, because yeah, he creeps right in there and fucks up things significantly before people even realize what's really happening. And so it's, all of the less sort of like slithering motions that they sort of portrayed in the trailer and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see the actual context for it, but yeah, I like the visuals of that. I don't think we saw the hobbits at all too.
Yeah, I don't recall. I was looking for them and I didn't recall seeing them at all. I know that kind of ties into Tom Bombadil.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Nori and
I was gonna say Poppy, but that's not right.
Pop, I think I don't know.
Oh, did I actually get it? Poppy?
Yeah, it's Poppy.
It's Pop. Look at that.
Nori and Poppy, I assume, are going to be off with the Stranger, who is still known as the Stranger, even though he's Gandalf.
Yes, even though he's Gandalf, but okay.
And reading that article from Vanity Fair, it looks like he is going to encounter Tom Bombadil. And Tom Bombadil is going to guide him in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
So what do we think about the Tom Bombadil of it all?
Oh, here's the thing. I like Tom Bombadil as a character in the books. I was...
Really?
So,
okay.
I do. I like the purpose that he serves in the books.
What purpose is that, though?
He brings a little whimsy. He brings a little whimsy to the hobbits.
Okay.
I think it shows... So, in all seriousness, I think he's a good indication for the hobbits of how big and strange and wide the world is. Because he's really their first interaction. Like, obviously, like, Frodo has the ring at this point, and they're on their journey, just starting out on their journey. But they don't really know the depth of like, everything that is happening with them. And he's really their first, I think, sort of interaction with how big and weird the world is.
Well, I mean, he himself is also just weird because he puts on the ring and nothing happens.
Yes.
So, and
it's never explained. Like, it's never really...
My thing with Tom Bombadil is, like, he was cut for a reason.
Yes.
And I think the Vanity Fair article mentioned that one of the showrunners said that you have to kind of do that in a movie, and it makes sense that he was cut, but in a TV show, you can do a little bit more with him. And I'm not saying that's wrong.
No.
I'm saying that you have to make up a lot. Because Tom Bombadil has, like, a book of poems written about him because, like, Tolkien really cared about him as a character.
Right.
But he didn't serve much plot purpose.
No.
So they're making a lot of this up as they go, which is fine. It's just it's weird.
It's gonna be very weird. It's gonna be interesting. I'm interested to see how they're going to tie him into the story that they're telling on the show. Because the only Tom Bombadil that we know of, that we really get to meet, is there at a very specific point in time, and then never again. Like, we don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's,
right.
And so he serves a purpose, quote unquote, serves a purpose at that specific time. But even then, it's like a loose one. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't do anything to necessarily drive the plot forward. It's just more, again, of showing, like, hey, there is some shit in the world. Like, there are some entities that that we know nothing about, that you're potentially never going to know anything about. Like, you'll meet them and they're gone, and that's kind of it. And so I don't know how they're gonna do this, honestly. How they're gonna make him into, like, you know, a well-rounded enough character to interact with an already really established character.
Right, and I mean, part of me is worried that they're going to try and give Tom Bombadil some definition that he doesn't have.
I mean, I think they kind of have to, though, because he's
right.
How else will he be able to exist on the show? I'm assuming that he's going to be in more than one episode. That is my assumption.
I'm hoping he's just in, like, one or two
max, but I would personally be surprised if he was only in one.
Right.
I think he's going to be in at least 2 episodes, which, like, even then, I think that's it's going to be a stretch, because it's Tom Bombadil doesn't even interact with, like there's no, you know what I mean? Like, there's not even a connection with Gandalf in the books. like it's not even,
right.
You know, like, there isn't even that, and so it's not even like, and I mean, it's completely possible that I'm forgetting a bit or a piece. I don't think does Gandalf ever acknowledge Tom Bombadil in the books? Do they ever have a conversation?
I think there's something
with Frodo, maybe
in the books when Frodo tells Gandalf about like who he met in the woods.
Okay.
And Gandalf says something about it, but I don't know that they've ever interacted.
No. Like I know for sure, like, I don't think they've ever interacted. So yeah, we have like maybe a scene of Frodo telling Gandalf about his journeys in the forest and mentioning Tom Bombadil and Gandalf acknowledging that he's aware of who Tom Bombadil is, which makes sense because he's Gandalf.
Right.
But like even that's like, okay, I mean, yeah, it gives them, it opens them up to be able to create, to kind of do whatever, but that's both a positive and a negative. Like they can do whatever, but also they can do whatever.
Right. And that's the thing. I'm like, they aren't allowed to go against, from my understanding, they aren't allowed to go against anything that's in canon, but that doesn't mean they can't like make some stuff up. Yes,
exactly. And it's the making stuff up that has me like a little bit, I don't know. I'm trying. I said this when we recorded our last Quiz of Time episode. I am gonna try my best to be as chill as I can possibly be about season 2 of Rings of Power, just so that I can try and sit and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah,
and not be as, like.
I think it'll be easier.
I think so too.
I think it'll be a lot easier this season because we have fewer expectations.
Yes. Yeah.
I have no expectations.
Yeah, like we know kind of somewhat of the direction that they're wanting to go. I think we'll have a better idea in 2, but we kind of have an idea of the story that they're wanting to tell. And so at least there's that, and we've met all the major characters, at least that like right now, the major characters that we're going to be interacting with. So we know there are no surprises there. So we've gotten past the Elrond of it all. We've gotten past, maybe gotten past this.
We've come to terms with the Elrond.
We've come to terms. That's a better way of putting it. We've come to terms with the Elrond of it all.
We've come to terms with a lot of things.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of know what the elves are doing in this season, or we have a good idea of what we think they should be doing in this season. Let me put it that way.
Let's put it that way.
We also have a decent idea of what Nori and the Stranger are going to get up to, because that Vanity Fair article mentioned that, what is it? Tom Bombadil wants to prevent the destruction that the Stranger is causing from going further into the west. So Tom Bombadil is going to help out the Stranger a little bit. So we know that.
Right.
The dwarves look like they're preparing for some kind of war.
Yes.
Or they're preparing for something because they know that Sauron is back. How they know that, I'm not sure. I assume Elrond will probably tell them.
That was my assumption too, that Elrond would tell them. I think I can't think of any other way that
Right.
Aside from that. Yeah.
Because they don't interact with any other dwarves.
No.
Or any other elves.
Any other elves? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what Arondir and Bronwyn and Theo are going to be doing.
Yeah.
What other big plot lines do we? Oh yeah, the Numenorians. Yeah,
I don't think, aside from the shot with the eagle was the Numenorians, right?
Yes.
Okay. So aside from that shot, I don't think we got anything with the Numenorians either, huh?
No, I don't believe so. So they're a complete unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, I think this is just a teaser trailer. It's, the show is supposed to come out on
August 29th.
29th, okay. So I'm assuming we're gonna get like the big V trailer for Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense. And so that will give us a much better idea on what to expect regarding plot lines and plot lines, but plot points. It'll give us a better idea of what to expect, but this is, it seems, I think teaser trailers are usually a good indication of the bits that they want people to know. Okay, these are the things that are important to us in this season. And it's not to say that we won't see the Numenorians or anything like that, but it seems like the weight of the plot is being given to the elves. And Sauron and everything like that, which makes sense. It makes complete sense that would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm just, again, like you said, I'm interested to see the order of things, because the elves, they got the rings. they got the rings, so
Yeah, the elves have their rings now, which, I mean, do they know what they do? Do they... Yeah, I think I have questions still.
I don't know. That's a great question. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. And again, I really hope that Galadriel isn't around for when Sauron in his fair form is doing his fuckery with the elves.
Here's the thing. If Galadriel and Anatar meet and Galadriel is like, wow, that's a really cool dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna lose my shit.
I can't. That's gonna be one step too far for me. Because like you said, that's gonna be the second time that she's bamboozled by this person.
Completely bamboozled.
Yes. Hoodwinked and bamboozled. And I can't.
Not even like, oh, I'm suspicious.
No. Exactly. Like, I can't do that again. I can't.
Because that's the thing. Galadriel always, like, immediately hones in on someone and is like, yes or no. And she's always right. Feanor? No.
Exactly. Yeah. Immediately no.
Sauron? Also no.
Also no.
Boromir? A light no.
A light no. A soft no, if you will.
Maybe maybe an accepting yes, but barely.
A whisper of a yes.
A fresca. A fresca of a yes.
A fresca of a yes.
And it's just, a La Croix of a yes. That's what I was thinking.
A La Croix of a yes is that's a very good,
yes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, to have my girl, like, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and fooled and made a fool of is just too much. Too much.
It's too much. And I get it. I understand logically, I understand the appeal for people with Galadriel and Sauron or
Halbrand.
Halbrand.
/Anatar.
/ whatever the fuck. I get the appeal that they had for people in season 1. I understand it. Because that sort of I know there are some people who really subscribe to that sort of ship, if you will. It's just my brain can't forget the part that it's Galadriel that is involved in this. Like,
right.
It just doesn't. It's Galadriel that I can't get on. But like, I can't go through this again. So I need her not to be there for that part.
Yeah, she needs to not. She needs to just be doing her own thing. And I hope she is.
Me too. Yeah.
We'll find out in exactly 3 months.
That's true. It's the 29th today. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all of the rings of power I have in me for today.
Yeah, me too. I would be overjoyed if this season came in and blew us away. I'd be so happy for that.
That would be wonderful.
It would be great. I want that. I want that for us. I want to enjoy the show.
I want to love it.
Yeah.
I want to like it.
I was going to say.
I want to not hate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it. I
don't, it's not that I hate it. I just have struggles a good amount of the time.
I just struggle a lot.
And again, I'm going to try and chill out this season and just be light and breezy, and that will I'm just going to go limp.
Just let it happen.
And it'll be fine. It's fine.
Just let it happen. It'll all be great.
Yeah, it'll be good.
All right. Well,
thank you very much for listening to Queers of Time, or Queers of Power, we should say. I forgot all of the platforms that we're on.
Discord mostly.
You can find us on Discord mostly, Twitter /X, Blue Sky, Instagram barely, TikTok, Tumblr sometimes. We post on Tumblr a lot. And we would really appreciate it if you support us on Patreon. We've been getting some new people recently, which is really exciting, and we appreciate it greatly because making this stuff is expensive. It is not cheap. And we want to continue making stuff for you because we really like doing it.
Yeah, we love doing that. And any bit of that you can contribute would be super helpful and awesome. So, all right. Well, what?
It was the way that you were like, were you thinking about Rings of Power again?
No, I was. Okay. closed my tabs for this recording for the Tom Bombadil article and the pictures and stuff, and I found this thing that I was scrolling through Twitter, and it's that quote tweet that's been going around about like, what's the funniest moment on live TV you've ever seen?
Oh yes,
And I just ran across right before this I was watching this video where
oh no.
Where this chef is cooking something on TV, and the news correspondent is like, if you added something to this, it would taste a little bit like this other thing. And he responds and he says, well, if my grandmother had been born with wheels, she would be a bike. What does that have to do with anything?
Listen, you know what? That is so on brand for chefs. That energy is like a chef in a nutshell.
He looked so offended when she was like, if you just added this one thing to it, it would be like this. And he was like, the fuck?
The fuck?
But yeah, no, I always...
Incredible.
The line is so inane that I always forget about it because I'm like, I'm never going to remember that. And then I'm tickled every single time I do remember it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, if my grandmother had been born with wheels, she would have been a bike.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
If my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike.
She would have been a bike.
And they just lose their mind, and one of them like chokes on what they're eating.
Yeah.
And
because what do you say to that? How do you respond to it?
You can't.
You can't.
I'll send it to you. It's great.
It's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, yeah, this is Queers of Time. I don't know if this part's gonna make it, but that's where we are. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.